Okay, how to can tomatoes. Here's some of the things you need to get started. We have a double basin sink here. One side's filled with cold water. The other side here has a colander in it. You need an 8-quart saucepan. Well, I don't know if that would be a pan, pot, whatever you would call it. Either that or larger, depending on how much you want to can. Here we come over to our stove. We have a little pan with your canning lids in it. In our oven, we have our oven set at 140 degrees, and inside there, we have our bottles in there, warming up. Over here, I think it's a 20-quart stock pot. I don't know if it's quite 20, but I have it on a Coleman burner, using that only because the Coleman burner is a lot hotter and a lot faster than the traditional gas stove is, plus my gas stove is 30 years old. So when that water starts boiling in this pot, we'll move on to the next step. Okay, now all I did here was I just put some tomatoes in the boiling water. And what we're going to do is we're going to check to see if they're done. And here's one here is floating to the top. And I have a colander here and a wooden spoon, or a plastic spoon I forgot to tell you about. But this is what they look like when they're done. The skin will crack. Now this is where the sink full of cold water comes in. We got another one here. Got 2 in there. Okay, now we'll take this over. We're going to throw it into the sink full of cold water. Okay, now we're going to come over to my wife. We'll let those in the water until they cool down a little bit. And she's going to pick one up. And she's going to peel the skin off it.
Any bad parts.
And cuts off all the bad parts. You'll see if there's a rotten part or something in there. It's pretty visible. Now she brings it over to the pan and she's going to core it out. Now how do you feel on that with the core? What do you do? Is that just a guess when you cut that out?
Yeah, just going through the center area. Chop it up a little bit in there.
This is where it helps to have 2 people. You have one person boiling and one throwing them in the water. It saves a little time. Okay, now we have our pot filled. Now I put it on the stove on a high flame. And we're going to sit here and we're going to just wait till it gets hot. That usually takes about 25 minutes on, like I said, an old stove like this, a little burner. And that's an 8-quart pot. So I try to guess about 7 quarts in it, and when you heat it up, it comes up a little bit. And I throw 7 tablespoons of sugar in it, and 7 teaspoons of salt. And that's all I do, no other additives, that's it. That's my recipe. And we're going to let this boil a little bit. And we're going to stir it around. And as you'll see, this I call it, I don't know, tomato scum. You'll see it coming up like that. I'll grab a spoon and I'll start scooping it off. And when we're ready to can this, which will probably be in about another 5 minutes, I'll show you. And what you're going to need to get is a measuring cup. I use a 2-cup measuring cup to scoop out the tomatoes and dump them in a jar. And a heat mitt. And our lids we'll put on, and I think that's about it. We need that, so we'll see in a couple minutes when this is ready, and we'll come back and go from there. Okay, our tomatoes now, they're getting pretty much ready for canning, and the heat's coming up. You see all this pink scum is coming up on top now, and you feel they're getting very fluid when you go through them with the spoon. What I do is, I come in through here now, and I'll take all that stuff off. I just throw it in the jar and I'll rinse it out later. Now what I've been doing, I said you need the measuring cup. I put warm water in the measuring cup, actually hot water. I warmed it up a little bit and I set it on the stove over here next to everything else so it can get warm. My lids, I got a fire underneath the lids now, warming them up. and from before my jars are down in the oven. More of that off. Do I know if this makes any difference? Nope. That's what Mom told me to do when she taught me. Okay, our lids are nice and warm there. I can see they're ready. I have my mitt. And this is how simple it is, so don't let anybody tell you that it's very complicated. Turn that down. Reach underneath there. I'm going to grab the jar out of our oven. Put it right here. I gotta tell you, you need one of these. This is called a canning foam. You get them anywhere. They're about $2 to $3. Place that in our jar. And I fill it up to about here. And always follow your manufacturer's instructions. That's so nobody starts yelling at me that I'm doing something illegal. I take my lid, my hot lid, put it on there. This is called a band. This holds the whole thing down. And if you can swing back and let me go over here. I have a bathroom towel here. I always put them on a bathroom towel because you don't want hot going to cold because you'll have the jar explode on you. And put it there like that. And that's all there is to it. Now what we have here is a finished product. Like I said, that was an 8-quart pan. And I fill it up just below, you know, maybe 3/4 of an inch below it. That gives me 7 quarts every time. I got that down pretty good. And I have them sitting on a blanket, like I said. You don't want the hot bottles to touch the countertop. And as they start cooling, as long as you did everything right, you'll start hearing them pop. Just go tink. And that doesn't mean your glass broke or nothing like that. That's a lid pulling down. To make sure you have a good seal and everything, when you rub your finger across the top of that lid, you'll feel an indent in the lid itself. If it's a bad seal or something went wrong and you didn't clean your jars good enough or something was dirty, you'll feel there'll be a concave mark on it. And the lid will be bulging. And then you'll see it'll start to leak and it'll really start to stink. So if you screw it up, you'll know within a day or two if something went wrong. And then what I do after this, I let them for 24 hours. I let them sit. I won't move them. Tomorrow, I'll write the date on them. Because you never know. This stuff gets thrown in your closet, you know, in your closets, your cupboards, whatever you're going to store it at. And all of a sudden you say, oh boy, how many years old is this? I don't know when I did this. Write a date on it. It'll help you out in the long run. Thanks, and have a good day.